Got a question? Ask Tom on Home Show Radio.
This is Home Show Radio live on Facebook and YouTube. Your questions, Tom's answers. Now here's Tom Tynan and Charlie Mosier.
Yes, the audience can subside now. We are live. I'm Charlie Mosier, and he's Tom Tynan.
Subside?
Yeah, well, they had to, we had to quell the audience. They get all excited.
Okay. No, none of that. Anyway, I'm Tom Tynan, and on weekends, I answer your questions on Sports Radio 610 on a show called Home Show Radio. Been doing it for 33 years, but now with YouTube, with
the Book of Faces.
The internet,
yep.
All this good stuff. We do everything but Twitter. We don't do Twitter, do we?
No, we don't get Twitter. I don't understand Twitter. I refuse to understand. And we don't do TikTok yet.
Oh no, I don't even want to go there. So how do they get to our Facebook page?
Well, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Well, first of all, they're probably watching us on the Facebook page right now since we're live on
YouTube,
it.
Right?
Right, or YouTube. They could be watching it there. But either way, if you want to get us questions this morning, all you have to do is go down to the comments section underneath and add your comments, and it'll come in through a magic screen right here, and we'll be able to see them and put them on. That's why we do the show live every week. And Tom will be happy to answer your questions along with all the other ones we get from our Ask Tom page. I'll tell you more about that later. On our website. So that's what we're going to do. We're also going to be joined today by one of our home show pros, Jason Whittington with Texas Floors will be joining us in just a few minutes to answer a bunch of questions we've piled up about flooring. So that's coming up. In the meantime, we're going to talk moldy ducts. We're going to talk radiant barriers. We're going to talk re-roofing. But first, Tom, we've got a question about an AC retrofit. All right? This one comes to us from Joe in Alliance, Ohio. He writes to us, I have an old home with no return ducts to the furnace from upstairs. Can I put an AC system in without making holes for return ducts upstairs, or will it not cool right?
You need return air, and the more you have throughout the house, all the different rooms you have, the different floors you have, whether it's first floor, second floor, you need to mix that air up so the air conditioning system works. Now, can you have an air conditioning system that doesn't have a return air, so to speak, like you're thinking? Yeah, it's called a ductless split system. It has a return air, but it sits on the wall with the whole unit. So the air goes in the bottom, comes out the top. So it has a return air, but you don't have any duct work involved with it at all. So if you wanted to go to a second system, and you can have up to 4, maybe even 6 different heads in different rooms, all controlled with a remote control and putting it on the temperature you want, they're out there and you can have them installed.
We installed one here in our conference room downstairs, what was formerly known as the rotisserie, because it got so hot during the day.
Yeah,
and you put that thing on. We had some problems with our old air conditioning when we first moved in, and Chad downstairs would turn that mini split on in the conference room, and it would cool the entire first floor eventually. So these things are pretty darn efficient.
Yeah, no, they work. And it's not some kind of weird magic. It actually has been around a long time, and they're getting to be incredibly popular.
There's no voodoo in this. There's no like little men inside.
Right? Up in his garage. I mean, it's been around in Europe and all over the world. It's hitting the States, and you'll see it in brand new homes where they don't even have ducts anymore.
All right. Our next question comes to us from Troy in Pasadena. He says, my AC vents have stuff on them. At least he doesn't say it's mold, Tom. And he says, and I was looking for good company that cleans the vents and ducts. What do you think about getting those ducts cleaned, Tom?
I don't think you need to clean the ducts. Your registers, which are those things on the ceiling, they call grills, some people call them, but they're called registers. They need to be cleaned once in a while. You take them down, you clean them, you put them back up. I do mine about every 2 years. Some more than others, depending what room it is. Kitchen more so and bathrooms more so than, say, a bedroom. But it's just something that's clean. So if you want someone to clean them and you can't, hire a maid service.
I've heard you say, and I've heard you say that there's, when you get that kind of growth there at the end, sometimes it's what do you call it, the box, the duct, where the duct connects to the register?
Well, if you have a real bad problem, I don't mean normal where they need to be cleaned once in a while, but if you have a problem that's getting all black up there with the mildew, and then if you pull the register down, take a look at the box behind the sheetrock, and just tape it off a little bit. Make sure there's no gap between it and the attic space or the crawl space, and put the registers back after you clean them, and it should stop the problem.
All right. Our next question comes to us from Kevin in Park 10. He says, are you familiar, Tom, with low E thermosheet? And is it worth the extra cost? I'm going to put a new roof on, and this is an option they've presented.
No, it's not worth it. It's an underlayment. Now, these products have come on the market quite a bit, and what they're supposed to do is go down on the roof deck, then the shingles go down on top of it, and they say it's a radiant barrier. It's not. If you read through, and there's several different ones out there. There's a lot of different product. If you read through the specification booklets, what you're going to find is when used as an underlayment, it does not react as a radiant barrier. So if it's going to be used under a shingle, it's nothing more than an underlayment, and there's better underlayments to use with the new fiberglass mat, felt papers, and ice and water shields. You're not getting any benefits. So my answer to you is don't use it. It's an upsell for more money.
Would it be better then if he's worried about a radiant barrier, Tom, to maybe consider using the spray or the foil in the attic?
Well, a radiant barrier goes in the attic. Whatever one you want to use, fine. That's a whole different discussion, but it can't be used under a shingle. But all radiant barriers must be installed in the attic, not anywhere else on the layer of building materials on the roof.
All right, our fourth and final question, drawn from the Ask Tom mailbag. By the way, if you have a question you want to send it to us live, we can do it right here at put the comments in the bottom. We're happy to take your questions and field them here live this morning. Jeffrey in the East Tex Jensen area, he's got a North Houston part of town. He says, I have a roof that's 10 years old. It doesn't leak, but it looks bad to my wife, which means it's time for a new roof. Anyway, I was wondering, can I just go over the roof I have with new shingles, or do I really have to strip everything off, Tom?
Well, it's always best you strip it off. 10 years for a roof is not a time to replace it. I'm sorry she doesn't like the way it looks, but if it's just purely aesthetics, find a better shingle, tear off the old one, because if you put a roof on top of it, it might look new, but it's going to be all lumpy looking, and she might say, I don't like the way it looks lumpy. So if you're looking for aesthetics and you've got someone who's incredibly critical about it, then you better do it really well. And that means strip and go with a high quality shingle with the stain guard and everything else you can buy, all the bells and whistles. And there's some expensive ones out there, but very, very good. And so if that's what's going to happen, because it should last 30 to 40 years, not 10.
Easy, sure. Jim from Ideal just posted a video on his Facebook page, and we shared it on ours, where he shows where they're taking a roof off, and they found underlayment from a previous roofer hadn't taken everything off when they put the roof on, and it led to problems. So, yeah. And that's why you go with a roofer like Ideal Roofing. You know, he's one of our original home show pros, and he's been with us for 30 plus years. Ideal
1990.
Roofing. Yeah. And so that's
maybe 91, maybe right between 90 and 91.
Yeah. Them and Due West. It was like a NASCAR race at the end. They
Due
kind of.
West was 88. I mean, but that's
Right.
still 88, 89. They were the first two that came on board. Yes.
Sure. And Jim stands for he has a way of doing things that, you know, he does it right, and that's the end of the show, or he won't do it. So, but this is not the end of the show. In fact, it's time for us to welcome our special guest this week. Jason Whittington is one of our home show pros, and like all our home show pros, you go to HomeShowRadio.com, as you can see here, and you find our pros that are all on the homepage. Click on his button, like we always tell you to, and that'll take you here to his page at HomeShowRadio.com, where you can contact him, or you can just say howdy, because he's with us this morning live from his underground bunker. Good morning, Jason. You got to turn your mic on. There you go, bud. All right. So,
I like his underground bunker. It's got a window behind his head.
Well, it's
not much of an underground.
Okay. He's the top of he's inside his compound, if you will. All right,
How about
Jason.
his townhouse?
Jason,
How about the suite on top of the building?
That is. He's up there, and his hairless cat is in the other room. Otherwise, he'd be there petting it right now, right? All right. Jason is one of the two partners that runs Tex4. He and Ryan Croft run it. He will tell you he is the better looking partner. And Ryan will tell you he is. But anyway, they have been our home show pros for flooring for years. And Jason, thank you so much for being with us here this morning.
Absolutely, guys. Appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we have a lot of questions we've gotten in. But first, before I get to that, Jason, if you don't mind, I got a couple questions here that came in while we were talking about that came from our viewers. And I want to go to have Tom handle a couple of those. Then we'll get into your questions real quick about flooring, okay?
Sure.
All right, so here's the first one. The first question comes from Mike Undi. Mike, forgive me, I don't if I pronounced it wrong here. He says, but I see that there's dual fuel portable generators. So is it worth getting those and adding a transfer switch or getting an actual in-ground? Would that one be better for me, Tom? Which do you recommend for a generator?
I don't know if I'd go with a dual fuel unless you had a very specific reason to do it. What that reason might be, I don't know, but I'm sure there's a reason to have them. Probably because you want to move it around and take it to different locations. As far as on your house, if you have natural gas or propane tanks at your house, I would do a permanent one like I have done at my house. And Charlie, I know you have a great big Kohler at your house, and they're piped straight into the natural gas because even during Hurricane Harvey we had here and other big storms, the gas keeps pumping. So you're not going to lose it when it comes to the fuel source for your generator. And of course, you're going to need the switch and everything. That just goes along with it.
Yeah, you don't want to jerry rig going into your breaker box off a generator in the garage.
What happens is if you don't have that switch and it kicks on, you're sending power down line. And those guys from CenterPoint that are up there on the wires, they're going to get zapped. And let me tell you, when they find out where it's coming from, they're not going to be happy campers with you. So they need to be protected. They're working their butts off, and they can get electrocuted.
You sure can. Now, speaking of gear, some people have noticed that I look a little different from you here this morning. I got a comment in here. Mike, who just asked about the generator, says, Charlie seems to be using an upgraded camera. The only reason I share this is because my wife said nobody really notices that stuff. So, Mike, thank you for being part of the club.
I think this is a plant. I'll tell you why. Charlie wants me to buy a $1,400 camera, which I agreed to last night, because he said, look how pretty I am, and you're just not pretty enough, Tom.
Yeah.
So this is a plant question.
Yes, it is. No, it isn't. I don't know, Mike.
Yes,
I don't know, Mike. But Mike, I'll get you your check next week. All right, got one more question.
Yes.
Hey, and I got another question for us here from the viewers, and you're welcome to send your questions to us here on Facebook Live. Darren writes in, I have wood floors that are finished with tung oil. Can I just wipe the new oil from them, or do they need to be lightly sanded first? Now, it would be great, Tom, if we had access to an expert who could answer that kind of question.
We do. Talk to Jason over there.
Jason, there you go. We weren't expecting this one, but there you go. What do you think?
Most of your oil applied finishes don't need anything other than just to have the oil reapplied to them. However, every case is going to be an individual case. We don't really know what was on there before. If there was some other type of chemical or something else put on the wood floors besides tung oil, then you could cause a problem by putting more tung oil on top of it. So unless you know for sure that it's only been tung oil throughout the years, I would probably have somebody come out and take a look and just make sure. If it's only been tung oil the whole time, then you're fine. But if somebody used maybe one of those products with glow in the name or wax in the name, you could actually cause more problems by just blindly putting the tung oil in there. So maybe check an area in the closet or someplace inconspicuous before you just go doing the whole floor.
Yeah, I think, Jason, the wax is the thing. People put wax and that glow stuff all over, and you don't have to sand it. Don't they have strippers to take that off first before you reapply the finish?
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff gets really complicated depending on what was there and how it was before. So it's hard to just answer carte blanche without seeing it. But I would definitely check a small area before you did the whole floor. And if you know the history of the floor and know it's only been tung oil, then obviously you have a little better chance of it working out appropriately. But if anything else has been put on it besides that, you're going to have some issues, and you want to remove whatever that product was before you reapplied the oil.
Fair enough. We get a bunch of questions in the Ask Tom button, at HomeShowRadio.com. By the way, if you have flooring questions this morning and you want to ask Jason, you can go ahead and visit us here by putting your questions in the timeline down, or the comments area below, and we'll bring them up and get Jason to answer them right here. It'll save you a trip up to Spring Cypress or a phone call. He's here to help you. So let's go ahead and get the first question we have from our mailbag here for you. David in Katy says, I'm going to replace my flooring and wanted to get your opinion on LVP, which I assume is the luxury vinyl planking, versus water-resistant laminate. What are your thoughts, Jason?
If your main concern is the waterproof of the flooring, then I would go with the LVP. There are many products out there on the laminate side that claim to be and offer a waterproof option. However, when you put that stuff into play, into real life, it becomes very, very difficult to make a wood product like laminate be actually waterproof. So if your main concern is moisture, then I would not go with the laminate, and I would go with the LVP, the luxury vinyl plank.
What about with pets? With the LVP? I'm sorry, I just had a little blip here, but what about with pets? Does it work well with pets? It just went over. Anyway, we won't go there. What about with your pets with the LVP? Is that a good floor for it?
We find that the LVP works for most applications. It does really well. It resists scratching from the nails exceptionally well. If your animal were to come in, like say they were wet from the rain or maybe had some muddy paws, something of that nature, all that stuff wipes up really easily, doesn't stain, and it's a really, really good option. The laminate works well too. However, me personally, I just am concerned about how when they say something is waterproof that's made of wood, and how that really works out when you actually take it from the lab and put it in someone's home. There's so many variables there. In the lab, I'm sure it's just fine, but when you put it in someone's home, it becomes more difficult to make that product quote unquote waterproof. Well, the LVP products, you can literally take them out of the box and throw them in your pool. We know that those are waterproof in the lab, and also however you were to install them in your home.
With the LVPs, didn't you tell me that I think it was Mohawk quit making laminates? They're just going to make the vinyls?
There's some of the guys who are still making them, yes, but they have transitioned highly away from basically turning over their manufacturing capacity from making the laminate product to the vinyl product. So they've literally over manufacturing facilities to switch over. So the category has probably dropped by probably 50% in the past 3 or 4 years as the vinyl type products, the LVP, have become more popular, and the manufacturer have put more technology in those to make those even look more like real wood.
All right, our next question comes to us from Nancy in League City. She says, I need to replace our ceramic tile floors in the whole house except the bedrooms. I hate tile personally, but don't want carpet everything. What's the best way to go on floors? I don't want hardwood, and I need something that holds up in the kitchen and the bathrooms, and it's easy maintenance. Jason, but she's giving you lots of room to move here.
Yeah, really.
Well, by eliminating all the things that she doesn't like, it's only going to give us really one option. We're back to the LVP, which we've been talking about. We sell a lot of it. It works really well. It's so durable. And if you don't like the tile and you don't want the expense and the maintenance of wood, I mean, your best option is going to be the LVP. And that's, again, kind of like the conversation we were just having. And the LVP is taking share from all the other categories of flooring aggressively.
What's happening is everybody has had tile, everybody has had laminates, and people start to go, I'm tired of all that stuff. I want something new, something different. And sometimes there's just not. It's like countertops. Granite's still the mainstay no matter who invents what. It's still, everybody goes back to it. But now with this LVP, I think they found a little niche to where they can come in with something new. And I actually like the floors a lot. I think they're very good looking.
Yeah, most of the time when you want to replace something or remodel something, you don't want to go back to the same thing that was there. You would just keep what you had. So
I guess we go back to the old parquet squares, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Saltillo tile. There we go.
Oh yeah, that's a hard to find nowadays. Is a Saltillo that's still left. There's some still inside the loop, but if you guys have Saltillo out there, you're one of the few.
I tell you what, we have a whole mall of it at my campus down here in Brownsville. They got more Saltillo here than anywhere.
Fair enough. Our next question comes from Jill in Peoria, Illinois, which she also is looking for a non-carpet solution, but she's thinking about dogs. And you had said the vinyl earlier, but she's thinking that she wants to replace, and she's replaced her bedroom carpeting, and she wants to replace it with something other than carpeting. And she's seen a product called Cali Bamboo with options that include bamboo and eucalyptus. What are your thoughts on those flooring materials, Jason?
Bamboo is a grass, and so it's basically an engineered wood. So the only difference between a hickory or an oak and a maple and, let's say, a bamboo is just that. It's going to be an engineered product, and then what you see on top is going to be the veneer of, again, whatever type of product. So buying a bamboo would be no different than buying a hickory or a maple or any of the other woods. The process is still the same. It's still going to be a wood. It's still going to be glued down. It's still going to act like a wood. The only difference is it looks like bamboo. There's not really any advantage to anything. It's really more of a style. So if you like that style and you want the look of bamboo and you're okay with a wood product, then it'll work just fine. But there's nothing more special or less special about it than a hickory or an oak or a maple that you would put down as well.
Okay, Jason, dog urine on bamboo. It's just the same as dog urine on maple, isn't it?
Dog urine's bad.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so it doesn't really matter what product it goes on, with the exception of the LVP type products. But yeah, any type of moisture and wood, those things don't go along. The wood is going to absorb it. So the bamboo will do the same. And it's really just another option for a wood type floor. There's no extra protection for scratching. There's no extra protection for moisture. It's just another option for wood.
You get a lot of
grass. That's interesting.
And I would think that's a softer wood too, isn't it, Jason?
Well, yeah. I mean, depending on the product, some of them can be a lot harder because if they do like a stranded bamboo, they put a lot of resin in there to make it hard. But yeah, as the way that they manufacture that stuff, you know what bamboo looks like. They cut it down and then they have to do something to manufacture it and get it flat. So they roll that stuff out and then they put that veneer on a plywood backing, just like you would any veneer, whether it was the other stuff. So sometimes in the process, for instance, like on a stranded type bamboo, it will be a little bit harder because all the resin they inject in there to make the grass become hard. However, it's still the same product. It's still going to be on a plywood backing. It's still going to be acceptable to moisture or dog urine or pet urine or any other thing that any other wood floor would be acceptable to. This stuff would also be the same. It's literally just the look. You want a red car instead of a blue car.
Yeah. I mean, I have shoes that are made of eucalyptus, and I'm like, I'm thinking, I don't know how this becomes a floor.
Oh, we did talk about eucalyptus is also very soft as well. Mm-hmm. And again, whether it's eucalyptus, maple, all those woods are going to react the same.
All right. Our last question for you here comes from all the way from Conroe. That's where Joyce is. She writes, moisture from the untreated concrete slab in our master bedroom penetrates through the wall-to-wall carpet in the room and allows mold to form on any solid object, such as furniture, that touches the carpet. We'd like to replace the carpet, but don't know how to do so properly to treat the concrete slab before doing so. What's your advice, Jason?
Well, two things. To just treat the slab, there are products out there that are designed to seal the slab so from the moisture coming up from your slab so that you can apply flooring, carpet, whatever you want on top to keep the moisture from wicking up into the flooring. So you could apply that and you'd probably be just fine. However, if you have that much moisture coming up to your slab, I would definitely get somebody out there to take a look to see if there's not another problem going on. That is a lot of moisture transmission to a slab. If the things you sit on top of your carpet get musty and moldy from sitting there. So we could prevent the moisture from coming in at the point on the top of the slab so you can put your carpet back down. However, there's obviously something else going on that would need to be addressed by perhaps a slab guy or maybe an engineer. I'm not certain on that, but that's just a lot of moisture to come into a slab.
When we find with air conditioning systems, I had to think about this a minute because we get this question a lot. Charlie always is giving them to me, that platform beds, furniture that don't breathe underneath, they put them down on the carpet, and when they finally pick it up, or say cardboard boxes, it's all wet on the bottom. And sometimes it's because there's no air movement. It's not actually moisture coming through the slab. It's just moisture in the air that can't get around. So I always tell people with carpet that it's probably not a good idea to put furniture down that doesn't breathe underneath. And so sometimes it's not coming through the slab. You ever find that when you're going into people's homes and taking out old carpet?
I haven't found anything like that in quite some time. When I come across something, you usually smell like the mustiness of the carpet.
Yeah.
It's, and there's not a pet involved. It's usually some type of a leak. That's been my experience. Obviously, with the AC stuff and the way they charge the house and how they suck air and whether things are this or that, could affect a lot of things. The moisture coming through the slabs or moisture on slabs or the whole slab moisture thing has been a lot more common. It's becoming more, I get tons of questions about it as well. If I had to guess, I'd probably say the house is probably over 30 years old. It seems to be on the older homes where that becomes an issue. And then we could digress about why we think that, but the lack of the plastic underneath the slab before they pour it, or maybe the plastic has deteriorated. Maybe the concrete was only 2,500 PSI and it should have been 3,500 PSI. I mean, we could go down a litany of things of what's causing it, but it has been something that's been more frequent, and I think just I guess the building techniques that they used in Houston during that time frame are making this issue come up more frequently.
Well, there's no doubt the plastic is all deteriorated after 30 years. I've been under slabs. They're just little tiny pieces all cracked and gone. But what should the moisture reading be in a concrete when you probe it?
Most manufacturers say anything under 3.5% for our area. It's going to vary. If you're in Colorado, it's going to be different than Arizona, than all over. But for our area, 3.5% on a Tramex meter and below is fine.
That's low. So 7's no good.
Oh, 7 is bad. My meter only goes to 6.
Does it really?
Yeah, it only goes to 6.
All right.
I thought you turned it to 11. I thought you'd crank it up to 11. Isn't that the...
Well, with wood, when we have floods, we're looking for like 7 and less and stuff. But with concrete, apparently 3 is where we're going. So.
Well, yeah, okay. Obviously, your wood would have a different reading than your concrete, and obviously you have to do your calculations for humidity and all that kind of stuff. But as a quick and dirty, and most manufacturers say anything under 3.5, don't worry about it, you're good to go. If it starts getting into the 4s and the 5s, then we would have a discussion with the homeowner about what would be the appropriate steps.
Can the LVP go on high moisture content?
That's a loaded question. Yes.
Okay, fine.
Because it's waterproof, right? It's waterproof. It is waterproof. However, what's living between the concrete and the waterproof LVP is between you and the concrete and what's living there, right? So again, you can take a product and call it waterproof, but how are you going to use it and what happens, outside the lab in the real life? So for that lady that called earlier about the carpeting, she could put LVP down and probably not have a moisture problem again if the water's coming up from under her slab, but she won't know what's happening under her LVP.
Got it. Yep, understand.
Well, Jason, that's a lot of, we have the LVP that you put in here at our office, and it has been completely maintenance free, and it really dresses up the place. But I put the hardwood here in my office, and there's a real difference to the experience of the two. I think the vinyl's great, but I mean, aren't there places where you want to go with wood?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's more about the design of your home and the feel of your home, and budget is less of a concern, and you're more concerned about the look, then there's a warmth to real wood. And I'm calling this that you can't really replicate and you can't really describe unless you're in the room with it like you're describing right now. So absolutely. Most folks are looking for something that's going to be exceptionally durable and let the kids play on and the dogs, et cetera, and not worry about it. But if you've got a special room or you have a custom home, or you're one of those folks who likes what they like and they know the way they want it, perhaps maybe the fella that has the wife that's kind of particular about her roof shingles. So if you're that type of person, absolutely wood is great. But like anything else, you have to pick the right product that makes the most sense for you. So
I remember the house I was in before Sandy and I got married, I put laminate floors down, and it practically kept me from selling the house because of the size of the house, the neighborhood. The laminate was like, I might as well have put contact paper on the cabinets. So I guess my question to you is there, is the vinyl have a similar kind of, I don't want to say stigma, but a kind of value proposition when you get into a certain scale of house?
Yeah, absolutely. Because of the name vinyl, most people think of the old sheet goods that have been around forever. You think they maybe should have named it a little bit better, which is why they're coming up with all these acronyms like LVP and all this other stuff. Really, a lot of the products that we sell now aren't even technically vinyl. They're SPC, stone polymer composites. So it's limestone. There's almost zero vinyl in it, but it's kind of grouped into that category. Like anything else, there are low-end vinyls and there are high-end vinyls. And depending on your house and the neighborhood and, all the comps and that kind of stuff, you could, pick anything. So you could buy an expensive car, Ford, and you could buy a Mercedes, depending on what you wanted to do. And those vinyls and laminates come throughout that range. I would say right now, the laminate has the biggest stigma because everyone's kind of turning their nose at that. Everyone kind of turns their back on it, going to the LVP. A lot of the products now are so good looking and they've done such a good job of making it look like real wood that you probably wouldn't even know it unless the homeowner told you or it was your project and you knew you put it down. But you've probably walked across many floors and thought it was wood and it wasn't. Because it's very, very good.
Well, I would say,
Jason, can you still buy sheet vinyl?
You can. We don't sell any, but it's out there. Yeah, for sure.
Do you sell a lot of it?
Oh, we sell almost zero.
Okay, fine. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have it's out there for sale. I don't have like a display of it.
Okay.
I was talking about earlier, people don't want to rip out sheet vinyl, they'll put sheet vinyl back down. So, rip out sheet vinyl, you want to put tile.
yeah, you're going a different route. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, Jason, man, there is a lot to. I really appreciate you coming on. You covered a lot of ground here this morning, and it's interesting to me what you said about the vinyl. The LVP is that, like you say, there's not that much V left in it, and so. That's the nature of a Home Show Pro, though. The Home Show Pros continue to learn about their product and continue to grow, and that's why we recommend. That's why Jason and Ryan over at Texas Floors are our Home Show Pros for flooring. Jason, anything going on in particular Texas Floors you want to share?
Well, we just like to thank everyone. We've been around for 15 years now. It's our 15-year anniversary this year, and we were going to do a big celebration, less obviously all the things that have happened, but we would appreciate everyone's support, and we're here for another 15 at least.
So we like to hear it, and I'll tell you what, it's supporting local business is what it's all about. There are big box stores for flooring, and when you do that, the money leaves town. When you shop places like Texas Floors, that's going to stay right here and take care of local families. And Jason and Ryan do a great job. Speaking of personal experience of having them put floors in for me, it's a great organization. Jason, thanks again for being with us this morning.
Hey guys, thank you.
You bet. Now, if you want to find Jason, all you got to do is go to our website, HomeShowRadio.com. Scroll down to where our Home Show Pros are. You'll see the Texas Floors button right there. You click on it, and it'll open up the page just like that, and you can see what's going on with them. So, Tom, before we go, since that you had said that you thought that Mike was a plant with his comment about my new camera.
Mike is really sandy.
No, actually, I have a comment here that came in from Sandra Ginn, who says,
really?
looking good, Charlie. Yeah. Mrs. Tynan seemed to like it too. So there you have it.
Don't say Mrs. Tynan.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's right.
That's right.
It's true.
Mrs. Ginn.
It is so true. All right. Well, that's it for this week on our Facebook Live. Now, if you want to get us questions, don't worry. You can still get to us. Just visit HomeShowRadio.com. Click on that Ask Tom button right there in the middle of the homepage, and you get this form. You can fill it out, send it in. See that? You can add a picture too. We love to get the pictures and include those. And just click the Send to Tom button, and we will get it on. Speaking of on, you're on all weekend, Tom.
I am this weekend from 9 to 12 Saturday. Danny before us with the Garden Pros from 7 to 9. So it's a full 5-hour action-packed block of talk radio. Still some of the real live radio on weekends. A lot of the radio stations haven't come back into full swing yet from what I can tell. Maybe they have. You could tell me if
in fact, Entercom, our radio partner here in Houston, They don't expect to be back in the offices till September.
Okay, well, we're on, and of course Sunday you'll be with me 8 to 8:30 or so, and then I'll be going till 11 o'clock and answering questions live. I'll be doing it from my house, so I am socially safe, but then I don't like to hang around people either. So I've been doing the social distancing probably since I was 3. I'm like a bird. Don't get close to me. I don't want to be close to you.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. That's right. He invented that phrase. Don't touch me. It says every
I
time
don't
you
go to
use it.
restaurants. I don't have any friends. I don't get on buses, and I just stay in my car.
Every
by myself.
every time you say "Don't touch me," Tom gets a nickel. So there you go, because he trademarked that early. All right. And I appreciate y'all being here. We'll be back again with another Facebook Live at 8:45 next Thursday, and we will look forward to seeing you then.